Welcome back to STEM Bins 101. I'm Brooke Brown from Teach Outside the Box, and today we are discussing all things organization, management, routines, expectations of your STEM Bins. We know that anytime we are implementing anything new in our classroom, that is where our teacher brain goes first. Where am I going to put it? How am I going to manage it? And how am I going to make it the most effective as possible for my students for the entire year? So the wonderful thing about STEM Bins, when you're thinking about where you want to put them in your class, they really don't take up very much room. So for my first year of STEM Bins, I used one bookshelf in my class. That was plenty of room for my students to access. You might have a long drawer that you put them in. You might have a specific corner that you put them in. And thinking about where you want to put them in your classroom, the number one priority should be, is it easily accessible for my students? You want to make sure that you are not getting things down for them. It's something that they can get whenever they need to. And you also want it to be an area of your classroom that is very inviting, very exciting and fun for them to visit. You want the STEM Bins area to be an invitation to play for your students. You want it to be a privilege for your students to visit. So my most recent favorite way to organize my STEM Bins is simply by using one of these 3 tiered carts. This specific one is from Michaels. However, they are sold at IKEA, on Amazon. I've seen them at Target as well. All different colors of the rainbow. And what I love about this cart is that it's very easy to tuck into a corner. It's easy to pull out when you need to. It holds 6 STEM bins or more on each shelf. So when you're talking about how many you're going to need for your class, I usually recommend at least 1 STEM bin for every 2 kids. So a full cart is going to be plenty for a full class of students. This particular cart from Michaels, this is the newer model, already has hooks attached on the side, so you have a space for those task cards, very easily accessible for your kids. However, if it's just a plain 3-tiered cart, all you need are the sticky command hooks to stick on the sides, and you can hang your task cards that way. This particular cart also has room for writing prompt cards or a clipboard with writing extensions that you can add in as well. Another great thing about this cart being on wheels is that you can put it between classrooms. So if you and another teacher are considering sharing a set of STEM bins, you can put it between your classrooms. Your kids can easily access them and put them right back. So now that your STEM bins are organized, your next step is to consider how you want to set up your procedures and your expectations and your routines for a smooth running year with your STEM bins. And a lot of this is going to depend on your personal classroom management style, whether you are more of a type A or a type B teacher, because depending on when you use your STEM bins during your day, that's going to affect the level of structure you want to put in place with your STEM bins. So for example, if you're going to use your STEM bins for morning work or makerspace time, your noise level is going to be a little bit louder during those times. You're going to let your kids combine. It's going to be a little bit more unstructured versus using them during literacy center time or during early finishers when your classroom is a little bit quieter. You're going to want them to take their STEM bins and work in a quiet spot. So you're going to need to consider some of those things when you set up your expectations. However, I highly recommend sitting down with your kids at the beginning of the school year and coming up with a class set of expectations together. And the reason we do that is because if we create them together, our students have more ownership over those expectations. They're going to be more likely to respect them. They are going to be more likely to follow them if they helped you come up with those expectations together. So once you decide on that, here's are some things that you're going to need to consider when you're deciding how you want to run your routines in your class. First and foremost, when are your students going to be able to access them? You don't want them running over to the STEM bins anytime they feel like it, because that would create a little bit mass chaos in our class. So we need to have a specific time that they are allowed to use them. The second thing is, where are they going to work in the classroom? Are they going to work on the carpet? Is there going to be a small makerspace table that they work? Are they going to take them to a desk or in the hall? That needs to be established with your class too. What kind of noise level is going to be appropriate? As I mentioned before, if it's more structured or unstructured, that's going to definitely affect your noise level in your class. You need to decide if there is a written extension expectation for the kids. If they have to create a foldable booklet or a build, draw, write in a literacy center, that needs to be set together as well. Are they going to be able to combine their materials or not? I will tell you that is something they are naturally inclined to do because the things they can create when they combine materials are pretty amazing. However, if they're only limited to 3 or 5 minutes, you're not going to want to let them combine materials because they need to clean up quickly. Another expectation you're going to have to go over, are they going to work independently or are they going to work with partners or a small group? Those collaborative skills are huge, so I highly recommend that you let them use them collaboratively whenever possible. So one of the biggest snags that I hit is, how long do you give students to clean up? Are they supposed to take home their structures? Are they supposed to take them apart? And my kids have a general expectation that they should clean up within 3 to 4 minutes tops. They need to take their structure apart, put it back in the bin, and put it back on the shelf. And this is something, guys, you're gonna have to practice with your kids. They're gonna have to model, and you're gonna have to reinforce those expectations all year long that you want to continue. Your kids need to understand that STEM Bins time is a privilege. If they view it as a privilege, they are going to be much more likely to respect those materials and to view that time as a joy and an exciting time that they can engineer together with their friends. So make sure that you take the time at the beginning of the year to really set up those procedures and expectations with your kids, because it will pay off all year long. So check out my next video on how to implement STEM Bins with literacy, one of my very favorite topics.